I'm Sia coming to you live from Surprise in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic sparkling day. Welcome to Before the Dirt Nap podcast number 1881, 7 years forward. And you're probably going, 7 years forward? Are we talking about the future? No, we're talking about the fact that we have kept moving forward. Today is the 7th anniversary of Brad's passing. It has been an up and down type of day, but not some have the emotions of his passing and the memories of walking through the memories of that day that felt like it was just yesterday. But other ones have been concerned for a friend who's going through a family crisis right now. So I've kind of had my attention diverted today, which is a good thing, I think. Yeah, it's a good thing. And I'm wearing Brad, and then I had a slight panic today because I couldn't find Brad's t-shirt. And this is his t-shirt with Superman on it, asking, what's it say on it? What happened last night? Now, there's a really cool story behind this t-shirt. So I'm going to share that story with you. And it's all about keeping the memories alive for those that have passed. Who is here to tell the stories? Make sure you write down these stories or record these stories in some way so that those in future generations can follow along and hear about the amazing person that our loved one was and how they impacted lives, how they just who were they, what did they do, and that sort of thing. So here's my story about this t-shirt. So Brad loves this t-shirt. This is a massive t-shirt on me. I mean, it comes down to about the mid-thigh on this. I could wear it as a dress. I think it's like a 5X or something, 4 or 5X. I don't remember. But anyway, so Brad absolutely loved this t-shirt. It is super soft, super comfortable. And so he would wear it as often as he could. Well, when it got to the point with the cancer and everything else where he could, and it caused problems with his spine where he could not lay flat and he had to start sleeping in a recliner, in a reclined position, he wasn't able to sleep in our bed anymore. And I couldn't sleep without him there. So he would wear the t-shirt. I loved this t-shirt. And he would wear it, put it in the laundry basket. I would take it out of the laundry basket, put it in bed with me, and sleep with it, almost like a teddy bear, and sleep with it because it had his smell on it. When his smell wore out, I then washed it, dried it, and he got to wear it again. And so this was the cycle that we had with this t-shirt. Well, when he'd spent 87 days in hospital, he didn't have a chance to wear this t-shirt. So it slept with me every single night during his hospital stay and when he came home. And so after I'd been woken up at 4 o'clock in the morning to around 4 o'clock in the morning by the caregiver to say that Brad was non-responsive, I flew out of bed down to there, and we got the caregiver to call the hospice nurse because we had an overnight caregiver so I could get some rest. We had him call the hospice nurse, and then she called back to say, what's the situation, and she's on her way over and bringing the undertakers with her. And so at that point, I thought I need to go put some clothes on. So I went down, threw on some yoga pants and grabbed this t-shirt and put it on. And I wore this t-shirt all day. I didn't even take a shower that day. I was gross. I was stinky. Although it didn't last very long because I had a friend from LA who came. There was a group of friends that came down from LA together. And one of them happened to be a massage therapist. And she discovered all my essential oils. And so as her way of helping me through the day is that she got different essential oils and she would massage my hands and my lower arms, and then she did my feet and lower legs. And the funny thought that went through my head when she started doing my feet and my legs, I was like, I haven't shaved my legs for a couple of days. They were a little stubbly. So that's a thought that ran through my head, but it felt so good. I felt so loved and so taken care of. And then we had friends turn up with a massive pile of food. And it was actually Brad's best friend, Mike, and his wife, Rhonda, turned up. And they just massive. And I just looked at this food and she goes, I'm Jewish, deal with it. And I was like, I'm not saying anything. And Rhonda completely took over the kitchen, made sure everybody got drinks, got something to eat. She laid out the spread on the table. She took care of it. She was the perfect hostess. She was awesome. And then Stephanie got me to sit in a chair so she could do my neck, shoulders, and my skull, my head. as well with these massages. And she was picking up, and people going, what are you doing with the oils? She said, oh, I'm going to do this. And she would do different oils each time. And people go, oh, what does that smell like? And so she would literally walk around the room with all the people sitting in the chairs with their hands like this so that they could get the smell of the oils that she was about to use on me. And she would pick out the oils that she wanted to use. And I had the case holds like 70 bottles, and it was pretty full. I don't know if it was all the way full or mostly, it was mostly full of all these different oils. And she would mix them and rub them in her hands and then come over, and then she'll go like this around as she walked around the room so people got to smell them. Then she got to me, and then she'd proceed to massage my hands, my feet, my legs, my head, my shoulders, whatever it was that she was onto. And I will tell you this, I felt so good after she had finished that. Even though I hadn't had a shower that morning. That kind of grossed me out that I hadn't had a shower that morning. But I was sort of like, oh, I haven't had a shower. And I was like, I don't care. Yep. When I realized I hadn't had a shower, I kind of felt a little gross for about 2 seconds and then went, I don't care. This is who I am. I'm not going to go take a shower, because I had to take Brad's shirt off and I didn't want to take it off. But I was going through different stories in my head from him from today. As I was putting together the Facebook post, I was looking through some of the different pictures that were there. And pictures bring back a lot of memories and things. And it was just great to, just as I was sorting through the pictures, all the memories that those pictures brought back. So I think my next thing to do is, because they're all digital, is to start cataloging the pictures and putting little stories with them, like the story behind the picture, or when that was taken, or about the people who were in the picture and how Brad felt about those people that were in the picture with him and things like that. Because he was just such an amazing man. And I always remember one of my favorite things to do, it became one of my favorite things to do, was just to turn around and go, hey, Brad, guess what? And he'd go, what? Like, what's happening? What's going on? And I go, I love you. And he'd just go, I love you too. But he'd get all excited. He never cottoned on to the fact that that's what I was going to tell him. But it would just be a very spontaneous burst out. And then there was times when I'd be working in the office and I'll suddenly have an idea, and I'll jump up out of my chair and I go, I've got it, and run in the family room or the office, wherever he was, go, I've got an idea. And the look on his face, and he'd roll his eyes and go, do I need to listen to respond, or do I need to listen because you need to get it out of your head? And I'd stand there and I'd go, and then I would either tell him one of those two answers, or I'll go, I haven't decided yet. And so he's like, okay. So that knew if he really had that, then he knew if he really had to pay attention, or if he could sort of like half pay attention. If I didn't need a feedback, then he'd half pay attention. If I needed feedback, he paid attention. If I didn't know, he had to pay attention. And so I'd rattle through what the idea was. And half the time when it's, when it's in the head, it sounds really, really good. But half the time when it comes out of the mouth, it's sort of like, what the hell was I thinking? And there was times I'd like stop, and he goes, what's the matter? And I go, what was I thinking? I can't do that. All right, I'm going back to work. I just get up and walk out of the room, and he'd be like, what just happened? So yeah, but he was my buoy, and he kept me grounded, and he allowed me the freedom to fly while keeping my feet on the ground. He loved the different ideas that I came up with. We had some great discussions on some of those ideas, and some of them would take them to the really wacky side of things and end up roaring with laughter and having great discussions and laughter. And other times would end up having this massive brainstorming session on that particular idea. Can we implement it? Can we go ahead and do it? What would it take to implement? And we'd start brainstorming ideas and things. And then there was the times that it was just sort of like, we both knew it was a ridiculous idea, but we just played it out anyway, and just had a lot of fun with doing that. So in keeping memories alive and things, it's taking time to tell those of future generations, what he was like. And I know every time I go to the older son's place and I'm babysitting the grandsons, at some point during the time there, they will ask me about Brad. They will ask me to tell a story, or can you show us that video of, and things like that. And if you go to my Facebook page where I've got the post for today, there's a really cute little 20-second video there of Brad teaching. He was teaching Dharmic how to go blah, 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 blah. And he did this really stupid little song with it. It is the cutest thing, the best interaction it was a great interaction between the two of them. And I was so thankful that I managed to capture that on video. It's just one of my favorite videos of the two of them together. And just, Dharmic was just so in the moment. The two of them were in the moment together, and I was on the outside looking in, and it was just a magical moment. And I was so thankful I managed to capture that on video for future generations. And quite often the kids will ask me to play that for them. So when we're out there at some point during the thing, they will ask me, especially the oldest one will go, well, I remember da 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 da, and I go, oh yeah, and go into like the story behind, the story about what he was talking about, things like that. And then the other two who never got to meet their grandfather would say, tell us more. So we actually end up having, just a few minutes of remembering Brad and remembering stories about him. And it's a way for Dharmic to remember what his grandfather was like, because, and then the other two to learn who this guy was that was their grandfather. So keeping memories alive for future generations is very important. So, record them in some way, whether it's on video, whether it's audio recording, whether it's writing it down, whether it's a combination of all three. Just find some way to record those memories for future generations so you can always keep the loved ones alive, and they get to meet that loved one through those memories and learn about the person that they were. I have a lot of stories about, my grandparents who have passed and the times I got to spend with them. I have fond memories of spending a lot of time in the kitchen with my grandmother, cooking. That was what she used to do during the war. Is that she was a cook in the Women's Auxiliary Air Force, and she would tell us story after story about her time there, and we would so we could so to be able to pass those stories on to those who didn't get to know her as well as I had the chance to get to know her. And just some of the lessons that we learned and things like that. And some of the good times that we had with her, some of the adventures we went on. And I tell you, and like adventures, I was even thinking about it today. There was times that we would spontaneously, Brad or I would turn around and say, let's go out for lunch. And we'll go, okay, where? I don't know. We'd both be like, I don't know. We just want to go out for lunch. We had no clue where we were going. And we'll get in the car. We'll go, okay, let's go. And we're like, are we taking Gus or not? And if we're taking Gus, it meant that we're going to have to do a drive-through somewhere because we didn't know what restaurants would allow dogs. We weren't sure how Gus would be on a restaurant that was dog friendly when he had to be on the patio. Because he was a big dog. He could, excuse me, he would stand there beside the table and he could rest his chin on the table. So we didn't think that was good having in the patio. So we knew that we have to do some sort of drive-through or go do a takeout order or a drive-through order if we were going to take Gus with us, and so that would limit us on what we could do. If we didn't take Gus with us, then we knew we could do a sit-down restaurant and go inside and that sort of thing. So there were times it was like, yeah, let's take Gus with us. Let's go for a drive. I'm like, where are we going to go? Don't know. We're going to go, and our option was we could go north, we could go south, or we could go east. Those were our options from where we were living in Solana Beach. And so we were, where are we going to go? Oh, let's go north. There was more options north. And so we'd drive up north there and we'd go up the coast road, and then, let's turn up here and go that way. We had no idea where we were going. We were just driving around with no destination in mind. And there's lots of life lessons that can be learned out of this. And then we'd be driving along and sort of like, let's get lunch from that place, just random places, taking random turns from here to there. And so we'll go in and, I'll go and place, we'll pull up the menu on our phones and what sort of stuff they had. And I would then go in and place the order as a takeout if we had Gus with us. If not, we'd park the car and go inside. We'll get the takeout. We'll then get in the car. And then was like, right, where are we going to go to eat? And meanwhile, while I'm doing the takeout, Brad's looking up for places we can go and have a picnic with Gus. Whether we sat in the car and looked at a view, like sometimes we would end up down by University of California, San Diego, down near there, and then near the coast, and there's a place where you can go hang gliding and parasailing. And so we would often go down there and watch if the wind was right, we could watch all the parasailers taking off and landing and flying around up and down the coast. And usually got pretty good views up and down the coast, which was really cool as well. And that was one of our favorite places to go and sit and have lunch or an ice cream if we just got an ice cream. And, we'd do stuff like that too. Let's go get an ice cream. Okay. But we wouldn't go to the the Baskin Robbins that was close to us. No, we'd go off for a drive, just drive around randomly places and find, oh, look, there's an ice cream place. Okay, let's try that one. Just random things. So those were some of our great adventures that we did. And I remember we got, we subscribed to the San Diego magazine. There was a monthly magazine that came out. And one of the ones that came out was 52 best places in San Diego for brunch. So Brad and I came up with a wild and wacky idea of, oh, let's go try them all. We'll go try one a week. I think we lasted like 4 weeks. And it was like, we woke up one morning, we're like, yeah, we don't really want to do that. But we would take pictures of our food. We'd talk about what our different dishes. We'll try each other's dishes and things. We'll come home, we'd each write a part of the blog that we actually had a website set up. I think it was Have to Brunch, I think it was. And we had a website up there and we'd put photos on there and there'd be my comments and there'd be Brad's comments into one blog post and we would post that. And I think we did it 4 weeks in a row and then it was sort of like, I think something happened. We couldn't do it the 5th week for some reason. And then we just kind of lost the momentum after that. So it was a good idea at the time. And every now and again we'll come back and, oh, let's go try another one of those places, because we kept the magazine handy so we could have that article to go and find a new place for brunch. And we tried a few more places that were on that list. And did we write it? I don't think we wrote about them though, but we went and tried them. And so we just would do spontaneous things, or we would plan things and go. I remember I had a pen. I'm going to date myself here. I had a pen pal that we started writing together in 1990. And so after I moved over here, and we were writing backwards and forwards because she wanted to learn more about New Zealand. And she was up in on Keuka Lake there in New York's upstate New York, and one of the Finger Lakes. And so when I got over here, we actually arranged to go up and we went and stayed in a bed and breakfast in Hammersport. And they lived like halfway along the edge of the lake. And so we picked them up one evening. We went up to Penyan to this really cool restaurant that was, they had these beautiful quilts that were made by the Amish that were on there for sale. And they were just hanging, like you hang tapestries on a wall and things. And they were gorgeous, gorgeous quilts. But we got to meet my pen pal in person and we had a great weekend together. And they took us to this, the Windmill Market. And it was just like a big flea market thing. And I got this big, massive cane basket that was about this round, had a big hand. And Brad's like, what are you going to do with that? I said, that's what our blankets can go in. Because we had throw rugs in the family room and they were just piled up on the end of the couch. I said, that'll be perfect for, it was big enough to put the throw rugs in. And so that's what we used it for. It was getting it in the car was the interesting. We had a lot of fun trying to get that thing in the car. It wouldn't fit in the trunk because it was, if you put it on its side, it was too high. If you put it with the base down, the handle was too high. We somehow ended up managing to get it onto the back seat because trying to get it through the door was, it reminded me of that scene from Friends with Pivot. If you ever seen the scene with Friends where they're moving the couch and Ross is yelling out, pivot, pivot. Trying to get that basket into the back seat was kind of like that pivot moment, but we finally got it in there. And then we had to remember how we got it in there so we could do the reverse to get it out. But we went on some really cool trips and, just weekend getaways. We went to West Virginia one weekend and we stayed at a bed and breakfast that were on the grounds that George Washington's family had owned. And the guy who ran the B&B was a huge historian and had learned a lot of history about the immediate area. And he says that stream that you came across to get on the property, he said, George, they had, I don't remember if they had records or not, but somehow they knew through his research, I guess, and they may have had records. I don't remember. It was a very long time ago. But he said George Washington surveyed that stream when he was 13. And so it was really cool to hear about some of this early American history. And we were staying just out of Charlestown, and Charlestown is named after George Washington's brother, Charles. So that was, we learned a lot of history that weekend, and it poured with rain the entire time. So we went to Harper's Ferry and we just drove around because it was just, there was nothing looked like it was open. It was pouring with rain and you literally got out of the car and got soaked. It was in February. It was is that President's birthday week? I know it was a long weekend. So it might have been President's birthday weekend. But we had a great weekend. We did some driving around. We got to see some great places. We found this little restaurant that used to be an apothecary. And you go in and all the pharmacy stuff is still up on the walls, all the little drawers, and they still had the names of the different herbs that were in these for these drawers and everything. And then you had the shelves with all of the glass jars that had what looked like different herbs in there, and it was very well done. It was a used to be a soda, an apothecary, and a soda fountain as well. So they still had the old counter in there with the old stools there. And the food was awesome. It was amazing. We had to run through the rain to get into the place. It was packed. It was some little town in the middle of nowhere in West Virginia. It was a really cool place, and the food was incredible, and the atmosphere was really good, and very much a community feel in there. So that's it from us for this evening. Take time to, remember loved ones, share stories, pull out photo albums. I used to love going to my grandparents' place, and they had this stack. They had a couple of photo albums that were underneath the record player, and I used to like going over there and lifting up the corners to find the pictures that I liked, that I knew I liked, because I liked the stories that went with those pictures. And then there would be times I would take the photo album out and go to my grandfather or my grandmother and ask them to tell me the stories behind some of those pictures. Do I remember them to this day? Nope. If I saw those pictures, would I remember them? I don't know. Probably not. But there could be some sparks of things there. If people told me who was in the picture, it might spark the memory of what the story was. So this is why it's important to record. But use photo albums as storybooks. Family photo albums make great storybooks if you're reading kids' stories at night. You can make up stories about tell them the stories of the people that are in the pictures. Who are they? Who were they if they're no longer with you? What's the story behind this one here, and what's the story behind this, and things like that. You can do a lot of great stuff with photo albums, just taking family photos and stuff and letting people know the stories behind the pictures and who the people were. Did you ever get to meet that person? What are the stories you heard about that person? Pass them on to the next generation so those people can leave their legacy of the story of their life. So this is a way for you to leave your legacy, telling your story, so your future generations have the chance to do that. And even if it's taking a photo album, and as long as, with photo albums and things, whether it's digital, whether it's physical, at least with every picture, make sure there is a who, when, and where the picture was taken. Just those three things are the basics that you need. You can then tell a longer story. You can use bullet points just to jog your memory about places, or you can actually write the actual story out. But as long as the photographs have who, when, and where they were taken, that's the biggest thing, because a lot of times people come across these photos and go, well, who's that? I don't know. Well, are they family or are they not family? At least if you've got names underneath them and when it was taken and where it was taken, they can determine whether or not it was family. And they're like, oh, that's great Uncle Joe. Wasn't he the one that did blah, 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 blah? And then you're off down memory lane telling some great family stories. So go out there, record your family stories in some way, keep the memories alive of of loved ones who have passed, and have a super fantastic sparkling evening. And we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific.